Alright, so it's been a while since I've made a talking video like this. I've been sick for a while, so there was a shortage of videos for a bit, and then for the huge backlog I was sick, so I wasn't feeling like editing, but we're back on track. Anyways, I'm making this video since I got a very interesting response on my Tai Chi Magic versus Tai Chi Grappling video. If you haven't seen that video, the link will be down in the description. This response was quite interesting because it made me think about perception in martial arts and how interesting that actually is. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Alright, let's look at the response from this magic wall. It's totally not an excuse to do some editing to make this video a bit more interesting. It's just a magic wall that I have. What you're saying that doing arbitrary random editing bullshit in your video does not make the quality go up? You just have more to edit and it looks lame? Anyways, let's look at it. So the argument from the comment that I'm going to focus on now is about needing to have an eye to be able to spot that Ramsey's movements indeed are different from normal grappling. That indeed there is fascial manipulation and that it is an example of what we see in HME demos. And you know, that's what got me thinking, because anyone who's actually had a considerable amount of grappling training, be it judo, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, catch wrestling, any grappling art that has sparring in it, and even better competitions, is going to be able to see that it literally is just grappling. Maybe he waves his hands a bit differently for flair, but everything that he does in those sparring videos is just basic, mundane grappling. So the idea is that people that don't train grappling like this, that don't train proper functional martial arts, won't be able to spot that it's just grappling. If you wave your hands in a particular manner and you're already banking on the fact that these people who are watching you are into fascial manipulation and chi powers, they will be seeing that in every time you make a connection that kind of maybe resembles it a bit, simply because that's what they're expecting. But since they don't know how grappling actually works, they can see that it's mundane. But wait, you might say, doesn't that go both ways? Doesn't that also mean that if you don't have experience with HME, you won't be able to spot when it's used? No, not really, not exactly. Why? Well, that's because the expected movements from those two things, genuine grappling and HME, are very different. Supposed HME application from Adam Mizner. If we're going to take that he's the best master out there, or at least one of the best masters of this skill out there, what they do when they show it is simple.
He comes at me the next way, I move. That's it. I just go like this.
He just does this. Literally just this. While, let's say, jiu-jitsu has so many moving parts and so many little details that need your experience and understanding for you to be able to spot them. Example here. This is one of my favorite takedowns that I like to do. And there's a video of it working and the other one of it not working. Can you immediately spot why? If you don't have experience doing this takedown, or at least grappling, will you be immediately able to spot why this one worked and this one didn't? Well, chances are that even if you are like moderately skilled but haven't done this technique, you might not be able to see it, even though you do know how to grapple. Well, that's because much more goes into making these things work. While HME, by its own definition and admission, is supposed to be simple. It's supposed to not go through the muscles. It's supposed to be a special connection through fascia, which isn't visible. And that's the key point. I can easily spot the difference between Ramsey grappling and Adam grappling. This is really interesting stuff, guys. Think about, like, if you know people that watch the UFC but have never ever trained, they will have difficulty with understanding what's happening most of the time in grappling. Punching and kicking, even though it's complex as a skill to learn, visually it's much more intuitive for people that don't train. That's why a lot of casual UFC fans that don't train martial arts find grappling boring. They boo when people get into a jiu-jitsu exchange because they have no clue what's going on. There's too much happening. And from their perspective, it just looks like hugging. But when you do actually train grappling or train MMA and you know what you're looking at, you will understand it. So yeah, this is another interesting parallel with like bullshido stuff with genuine martial arts. And I think it's quite fun to think about. And I remember when I did a live stream with Ramsey Dewey, he talked about this very specific thing from when he was much younger and still like a fledgling fighter.
So I discovered the quarter Nelson independently, having never been taught it. If you get a whizzer, if you get a collar tie, if you change the position, lock your hands up like this, pull the elbows in really tight, then you've got a lot of control over your opponent and their posture. And I was like, wow, this is golden. Why hasn't anybody ever done this before? And then one day I was looking at some ancient Greek statues, and I'm looking at these statues of wrestlers, and one of them is doing my move. And I was like, that's my move from thousands of years ago. What? And then I start looking it up, and I start seeing my move in other sources like old catch wrestling books. And then I start seeing modern grapplers doing this. I didn't see it before because I didn't know it before. Like I said, we cannot see what we don't already believe. If we haven't experienced it, if we don't already know it to be true, we don't see it.
And the key to this is that he's likely seen the quarter Nelson before, potentially many times, but it was before he trained it, so he couldn't recognize it. So yeah, guys, that's this video. Feel free to discuss. In fact, please discuss. Comments are awesome. Leave them, reply to each other, and like, share, and potentially even subscribe if you haven't. We have loads and loads of videos, so hopefully this will be right up your alley. So yeah, until next time, guys. Thanks for watching and take care.